access that just quite easily, and everybody would have to sort of just be, oh well, yeah, he's got a point. The guy that never lost his title, and they could go that route for sure. But I think it just depends. But I mean, obviously now with Joe without sort of Seth Rollins at the next pay-per-view, you got to think maybe that is a good call, and the fact that they do have previous with each other kind of may only help. In the idea that Samoa Joe, he won his matches against Finn Balor, for instance. Finn Balor never beat Samoa Joe, so that's a sort of story in itself right there that they could kind of go with, and they wouldn't have to do a lot of groundwork because they'd have a lot of it from NXT, which is kind of a good thing. So, and again, it's also sort of that whole thing with Triple H, the authority figure, who sort of made Kevin Owens the new guy, being sort of the puppeteer of Samoa Joe. Or if you want to go even bigger than that, Matt, I guess the conspiracy would be Triple H versus Finn Balor even. That is another potential move.
That could be actually an interesting one. Also point out, before we get emails in, we do know that Finn Balor did beat Joe at NXT London. We do know that.
Yes. Good point. But, better bring that one out. Hold on.
Finn versus Triple H, that's a great call actually, because that would elevate both guys. I mean, I know Triple H doesn't need elevating, but it's that kind of quality match that he likes. He likes to be in the top kind of like tier of wrestlers, and of course Finn Balor is in that, and it would put a good light on Finn Balor's return to actually be in a feud of that higher caliber. But it would have to be done very well, because it would feel like they're substituting Seth for Finn Balor if they didn't have the right kind of reasoning for it. But using Joe as a sort of go-between, that could work. Yeah,
no, I'm totally with you there. Okay, well, big news coming out this evening that's been sort of broke is that there's more news on the Hall of Fame, Matt. A couple of new inductees will be announced later, and the official word is none other than the Rock and Roll Express will be going into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. And Matt, any kind of big memories for you of those guys and of their work? Was you ever fond of them at all?
I know they're like a great tag team name there in the legendary category, and that I think when I first started getting into wrestling, though, they were already getting to the end of their career. They were already quite old.
Yeah.
Weren't they recently in Matt Hardy's like Total Deletion, non-stop deletion?
I believe so. Yeah, they had. I mean, there's been lots of different incarnations of them over the years as well. But that'll be cool. I mean, I'm hoping that they'll have Jim Cornette show up, because he was, of course, their main manager through most of it. So I hope that WWE have him as the guy that inducts those two. I think that'll make perfect sense. But nonetheless, probably well deserved. For those guys, not somebody I would have thought of myself, but they're guys that sometimes you look at it and you think, how on earth are they in there and they're not, and all the rest of it. But this one's probably a good call. Guys from the NWA and all the rest of it. So been around for a long time, had a great run. So congratulations to those two. They will be inducted along with Matt, of course, Kurt Angle. Who will be the sort of headliner, I guess, of this year's Hall of Fame service. We haven't heard much from Kurt Angle, Matt, and it's pretty much expected that we probably may not now until WrestleMania itself. Like, they don't look like they're interested in, or were interested in having him sort of do any kind of story-driven stuff. On TV at least, which was a little bit disappointing for me, because I think they could have done something there. But what do you think to that, Matt? Is that okay for you? And perhaps they'll do something after?
Yeah, it's kind of a mystery to me why they wouldn't use Kurt Angle while they have the chance. I mean, from what I've heard, Kurt Angle would be more than willing to actually get involved in some way. But I don't know. I would have him doing something at least, managing, or at least doing a bit of talking, or anything at all, really. But just get his face out there on the show. It would surely only be good for the show. Only boost some ratings. I think Raw could use him right now, even, for instance.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, guys, we're gonna go straight to some questions already, and don't forget, if you want to email the show, email us in at the Wrestling Skull Podcast at gmail.com, and we'll pick some questions to read out. Let's take a couple now, though, Matt. Whilst we're here, Dwayne emails in, guys. First time question, wicked show. Just want your opinion on two things. Where do you see WWE positioning Braun now? Also, do you think WWE could put Sammy on 205? Interesting one. Matt, Braun Strowman, we didn't talk about him just a minute ago, but obviously it's a good point, actually, and he is somebody who's very much, he's been very much positioned as a future top guy, no doubt about it, after that Royal Rumble outing. But for Braun Strowman, Matt, where do you see him going, perhaps, say, into WrestleMania, for instance?
Oh, yeah, another difficult question. Where do you put Braun on the road to WrestleMania, really? He's done such a good job of building his character up now and becoming the dominant monster in WWE. You know, he's now taken over the place of the Kanes and the Big Shows. You know, he's the constant monster that's there now. And we've already seen him doing his feud with Sami Zayn. And I wasn't really that big a fan of that, so I would hope that they would change it up a little bit. I wouldn't mind seeing something like Braun Strowman versus Big Cass coming into WrestleMania.
Cool. Yeah.
I think that would do some good towards Big Cass's character and actually getting him a little bit higher up on the levels as well, because he's been languishing in the tag team division now, and they haven't even had any success in getting any titles or anything. I'm not saying they have to break them up, but I think it would be a nice little singles outing for him.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Can't really add too much to that. I really, what I don't want to see is where WWE say to themselves, or Vince especially says to himself, the only way this guy is getting over the Big Show. That sort of monster versus monster, and he, has to see him defeat him, because those matches on paper, they always look incredible. But then again, we've already got Goldberg and Lesnar. I don't want to see too much of that on one night, and I think there's only room for it, a few times, and it's not, it would be too predictable, I think, to have that kind of a match. Also, I suppose the other thing I don't kind of want to see for Braun is going into the Andre the Giant Memorial, and him just kind of winning that. I know it's something of an accomplishment, but I just think there's more for him to do better than winning a Battle Royal. But, again, it is very, very feasible that that's what they do with Braun Strowman, because they always have about 3 or 4 guys that are sort of, being positioned in a big way. So, but I think he's past that, to be honest. I think he's past an Andre the Giant part. I think he's much more ahead than Baron Corbin was, for instance. So that'll be interesting anyway. And to the other point of that question from Dwayne, Matt, is about Sami Zayn in 205. For me, I would not like to see that. And nothing against this. It's not saying it's a step down, because, you look at Neville, and I think Neville's got a lot going for him. Probably a little bit more than Sami currently, but I think if Sami Zayn heads to the Cruiserweight division, it's a one-way for him after that. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I wouldn't like to see Sammy going into the Cruiserweight division. I think it hasn't really taken off the way they assumed that it would. And also, Sammy has this connection with the fans. And I think that's what WWE see in him and what they like in him. They see a little bit of Daniel Bryan in him, that kind of thing, where the fans connect with him. And they can use that on Raw to a better level, put him in some more high-profile storylines. Whereas if he was on 205 Live, it wouldn't hit as big an audience. And I think they really want to try and do something with Sammy whilst they can in that respect towards his connection with the fans.
Yes, totally. Okay, thank you for your question, Dwayne. Keep sending them in. Chris now. I don't get WWE and Roman. Okay, Roman is never going to be babyface for fans to get behind, period. So why are WWE bothering with Roman Reigns? Because for me, he was only going to be the next Cena, or that is it. Even if he does turn heel, which I know we all want him to, doesn't position him as the face of the company like Cena. So what is the point now? That's an interesting way of looking at it, I guess. I suppose everybody says he needs to go heel, but yeah, it does defeat the purpose of WWE's big positioning. It wasn't just having this guy as a big champion, Matt. It was about having this guy be the sort of facilitated, huge face of the WWE brand, which he has not been able to accomplish like John Cena has. Absolutely no doubt about that. And I guess even if he does turn heel, like Chris is saying, that also doesn't mean he's going to be the face of the company. So, I mean, how do you look at Roman Reigns now, Matt? Because we did see WWE take a step back from him last year when the whole wellness policy thing happened, and they really did sort of cut slack from that, and he had to sort of go down a bit. But then as soon as WrestleMania season come around, no doubt about it, he was there again. It seems like never giving up with Roman Reigns, but at what cost, I don't know. I feel like we've wasted years and years with just one guy when we could have perhaps pushed on some more guys by now. But is it all about WWE making Roman Reigns the face of the company, Matt, or do you think it was? It's a lot less than that, and perhaps we're just seeing it like that?
No, I think it is all about that. I think it is about establishing the next face and that next kind of John Cena. And I think that is the reasoning. Where all of the signs have been obvious in the past that he should be a heel, and the timing has been perfect so many times for him to make that switch, but they never did.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of John Cena syndrome, isn't it? Where the heel turn just never happens, despite what the fans say. But what baffles me though is WWE's decision to never have that section, because John Cena had that earlier on in his career. They did have that heel run, and people remember that, and a lot of people remember that fondly and like that run that he had, and and people actually respected that he could do that. But with Roman, we don't even know he'd make a good heel. In the Shield, he wasn't even heel; he was just cool. He was a cool bad guy back then because he was with the Ep82, and they were a good little faction. But can he do that on his own? That is the question. I don't even know if he could do it on his own, but I would like to know. I would like him to do it like The Rock did, because The Rock, he was the face of a company for a time there, despite Austin being there. They were both huge stars, Just give Roman, even if it's just, like a year and a half, give him a year and a half of being a heel, see how it goes. You could always do a switch back to the face there by reuniting the Shield.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good point Chris makes there. And listen, I think Matt's absolutely right. I think they have literally been all guns behind Roman Reigns. All eggs in one basket, if you will, with this guy. And that is probably what is keeping them from pushing the button on him having a heel run. Just because they kind of feel like, well, he still does get the cheers from the kids and all the rest of it. He's still kind of maybe cool to them, but he's certainly not cool to the adult fans, is he? Okay, thank you for your question, Chris. Now let's move on to our regular listener, the guy that said he was going to give up last week. Jimbo, wrestler squad number 9, says, I'm still unhappy with WWE presently. Random question now. Was it true Triple H said Kurt Angle was too small to be a main event guy? So glad Angle is in the Hall of Fame. I actually listened to an interview recently by Bruce Pritchard, who come out recently and on a podcast. He was talking about that actual thing when it came up in a meeting. I believe it came up in a production type of meeting, and it was something along the lines that Kurt Angle was too small to win the title type of thing. Matt, I don't know if you ever remember hearing that back in the day. When Kurt Angle was just about moving up.
Yeah, I do remember hearing stuff like that. But then, that's been said about so many wrestlers, hasn't it? Daniel Bryan had that said about him. Yeah. Shawn Michaels had that said about him. When you're a small wrestler, that comes as part of it. But that's what makes it that much more surprising, and that's what can fuel the determination. And I love it when they break through that wall and actually prove everybody wrong like that.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, Pritchard said that that in the same meeting when Triple H kind of said that, he said that it was Pat Patterson that come out and said, who would actually win in a real fight between you and Kurt? And that's when it kind of went silent. So I think that that sort of